Robin, did you want to say anything this afternoon? Or are you ready to just get it rolling?
I'm just going to say good morning and thank you all for joining and being here. It is a different time of day for our meeting, so happy to see so many participants on. And we've got a lot to go through and some exciting movement that we're going to get through on today's agenda. So with that, I think we just jump right in.
Okay, so I think the first thing that we were going to do today is go over the bylaws and have a motion to vote in the bylaws. Did anybody have any discussions or amendments or questions or anything about the bylaws?
So there is a link to them in the chat. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at them outside of the representatives from the local fire safe councils and the RCD in the county that worked on them? Were there any other thoughts, comments, concerns, questions? Well, that's great.
Well, if there are no comments or questions, if anybody wants to make a motion to vote in the bylaws, please feel free.
So before we do that, I do want to go over just one section for anybody that wasn't maybe able to take a look at it, just related to the membership and how the voting rights work. Karen's got her hand up. Go ahead, Karen.
I was just realizing, and I'm not sure how either we didn't catch this previously, or maybe I'm just not noticing it after so long of looking at these documents. Do we have a quorum number established anywhere in the bylaws?
I think what we discussed was simple majority.
Okay.
Yes, that's what we
I was
discussed.
taking a look through and I don't see that in there, but I may also not be catching it. So I'll go back and take a look.
Okay. So just for the membership and voting section, so members of the Solano Fire Safe Council are organizations, entities, or groups. They're not individuals. The membership list will be maintained by Stacy. And then in addition to the regular membership, there would be an executive committee comprised of the following members, and those are the members that would have voting rights. The voting members would include one representative from the Solano County Fire Chiefs Association, representative from the cities, one representative from the Solano County Fire Chiefs Association from a unincorporated fire district, one representative from the Solano County Office of Emergency Services, which would be myself, one representative from the Resource Conservation District, and then one representative from each of the identified local fire safe councils. So as of now, those councils include the Glen Cove Fire Safe Council, the Green Valley Fire Safe Council, and the Pleasance Valley Fire Safe Council. And then any newly formed fire safe councils that hopefully we will be adding to this list will be granted one seat by the revision of these bylaws to formalize their inclusion on the council and on the executive committee as a voting member. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns about the membership and voting rights? So it has been, I think, assumed by participation and position. Rochelle has been the voting member for Green Valley, David Stevens for Pleasance Valley. Oh goodness, why is his name blanking for me from Glen Cove?
Ralph Mariscal.
Ralph, thank you. Myself for OES, Chief Abruzzini for fire districts. We have Chief Chadwick from Benicia Fire is the city fire chief representative. And then I think it's Chris, right, Karen? Chris Rose for Resource Conservation District, and I will stop talking and give it to the hands. I think, Leanne, you have a question?
I do. So Glen Cove, are they a 501(c)(3) or do they have they had meetings?
They have had meetings. They are an official fire safe council and they do have their FireWise designation. I don't believe they have their 501c3 nonprofit status, but Karen just made a face, so I think they do.
They are technically they're under the umbrella of the Glen Cove Community Association, which is a registered 501c3.
That's right. That is absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great question.
And I just took a look through searching for majority or vote or quorum, and there is nothing in the bylaws about establishing a minimum number of voting members that must be present in order to call a vote on an item.
Okay.
Karen,
I
I thought
can-
we addressed that under the executive committee. It seemed when we were talking, since that's where the voting members would be, that it was addressed there.
Yes, there is not a requirement explicitly, there isn't a number explicitly stated in the bylaws saying how many of those voting members need to be present in order to call a vote on something. I'm not sure if we need that or if we're okay with just a real quick typey to put that in there.
Just quickly, and I'm sorry, I'm in the field, so I'm always checking when we've had burn piles, I'm always out in the field. We had talked about a simple majority, which automatically would imply a certain number based on the voting membership.
Yeah, so what if I make a motion to approve the bylaws with the addition of identifying quorum by simple majority of voting members?
That sounds good.
Any voting members opposed?
I'd second your motion, Robin.
Yep.
Great. Any voting members for it?
I'm for it.
Yes, for it.
All four.
I think we're good. Chris, you're for it?
Yes, indeed.
All right, that puts us over the simple majority. So with the addition of just the language regarding the simple majority, we'll add that in and we have bylaws.
Yay.
Congratulations.
2025. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you guys very much. And now we can move on, I think, unless anybody has any questions, stop me, but the election of the executive committee officers. So nominees for chairperson and vice chairperson.
So I'm just going to say from the bylaws, for anyone that didn't read them, the only positions that were identified for the council are the chair and the vice chair. And then Stacy acts as the council coordinator. So I would like to nominate Chris, Rose, and Rochelle as chair and vice chair, respectively. Any other nominations?
Those sound good to me.
How do my nominees feel?
Yeah, that's good.
Yep, I would second your motion again, Robin.
Anyone opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Take it away. Love it.
Thank you guys for stepping into that. And then I think we have already gone over the voting process. Unless anybody has any questions or anything. So we can move on to the establishment of the annual calendar. So I think what we had discussed in our executive meeting is figuring out, do we want to meet bi-monthly, quarterly, or what are you guys thinking on how often we want to meet and when?
And for those of, we had this executive committee meeting and we were kicking around the idea of just doing it quarterly because of people that are involved in fire safe council meetings, you know, fire protection district board meetings, all the different kinds of involvement that, and due to the attendance, that if we did it quarterly, then we would have you know, a good opportunity to get people stay really focused on the targets and what we're trying to do. So that was just something that we had talked about.
So clarifying question, are we talking about just for the executive group or are we talking about for the general meetings?
General meetings.
Thank you.
I really liked that idea, Rochelle, to go to quarterly, because I do think that, like we had talked about, we have seen duplication between meeting topics, and the goal of the Solano Fire Safe Council is definitely not to, it's a support role, and it's not to create more or duplicative work for anybody in the community that's attending. So I feel like if we focus the topics to be more useful and directive, like we talked about, and had them quarterly in that support role to the local fire safe councils, it would be a lot more effective as an organization. Anyone else's thoughts on quarterly versus monthly concerns?
I think quarterly is a good idea. And if we, for some reason, need to host a special event or if something comes up where opportunities presents itself to where a special meeting is needed, I don't know that there's a reason we can't have a special meeting.
And I would love to add that we also talked about things like preparing for the Wildfire Preparedness Day event, right? A committee can be formed that'll meet more regularly. So kind of, you know, just interim to try to move that particular project forward as an example.
If we moved to quarterly and kept it on the same day at the same time, we would be looking at, I believe, May 7th.
Which is just before the Saturday of National Wildfire Preparedness Day, right? No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, it's on the 3rd.
It'd be
and,
right after. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be right after. So that is something I wanted to discuss later on in the meeting, is actually asking for if you'd be willing to help with the planning for that wildfire prep day, but we'll get to, I'll ask you about that in a few.
I don't think it's bad that it's after the prep day, because I think there's a good opportunity to discuss what I'm going to say is a resounding success of this event that we're gonna have. But I don't know how everyone else feels about it. It is the Peace Officer Memorial Day, so we at the sheriff's office do have events in the afternoon, which may create some challenges, but we'll make it work on our end for sure. Do we need a vote on the calendar?
I don't think so. I think it just, like, if people are generally in agreement, it'd be great to know that people are generally in agreement, but I don't know that it needs an official vote.
Are you guys ready to move forward with quarterly meetings?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Favor.
Thank you.
Would you be good? Is this a good day and time as well, or are there better days?
Works for me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
The folks that joined that were not in the executive committee meeting discussion, how do you feel about the change in time to earlier in the day? Are there concerns with that we should be aware of or discuss?
Sounds good to me.
All right, cool. I think we're good.
Thank you. And then next on the agenda, we have the discussion of knowledge gaps and learning needs. So when we had the executive committee meeting, we discussed that it would be great to identify if there were any areas where members would like more training or resources or speakers, so that we're not duplicating efforts with the other Fire Safe Council meetings. So I don't know if anybody had any thoughts on or ideas for these meetings. And this would be for the general meetings.
I think one of the topics that would be good for us to discuss, and for those of us that are community partner support, is really getting out more information around Know Your Zone. And so people feel really comfortable. They understand the difference between that and, in Fairfield, there's still Nixle. The launch of Pulse Point, once that's up and going, and how that can be utilized, both for us, so that we're really clear on the distinctions. And when they're coming up, I spoke to Fairfield Fire Chief Sturdy, and I know that they're looking at Pulse Point too. It sounds like they're kind of in the beginning stages of this, but we might have it for the entire county, which would be phenomenal. But just from like the Amarillo fire out here, and then the other little fire that we had that was over on the ranch, you know, by Highway 12 and 80, there's a lot of chatter on Nextdoor about not understanding, how they get their notifications, why they're notified. And it'd be great. I know that's the role of OES, but it would be great to utilize us and figure out how we can support and amplify your message so it can get out there.
Yeah, we could totally do like an in-depth discussion breakdown on like alerting and alerting tools and how they're different and what some of the pitfalls can be, like why some people may get alerts and why some people may not. We can totally get into the nuts and bolts of that.
That would be awesome. I know there's a huge need for it up in Green Valley. Mark can attest to that as well. It's one of the questions that comes up for people.
Yeah, we would definitely want that to be really, really interactive as far as what your questions are, because I mean, as you guys could imagine, we talk about this stuff all the time, but obviously what we're talking and hitting on isn't filling what all those gaps are. So if you could really find out from your friends and neighbors too, what information, what are they not, where are those gaps at, that we can ask the really specific questions to drill down into improving that, base level knowledge and understanding, so that you guys can be advocates out in the community for the programs, because you do understand how they work and what their purposes are and how they can be beneficial, but also what the limitations are and where personal preparedness and personal responsibility play a role in preparedness as well. I think that's a great topic, Rochelle.
I can put that on the agenda for our next meeting. And then if anybody else has any thoughts or ideas on any other needs that might come up, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, send me an email, and I'll get those added in as well.
Okay. And I'll gather a few thoughts, because after those two fires, there was various things going on Nextdoor and Facebook, and then residents reaching out to me, and I'm sure Mark heard from people as well. So we'll get those kind of where the points of confusion are, and then also want to be able to stop misinformation, because occasionally community members will respond to things that aren't really factual. And just anyway, so it'd be nice to I'll get that information to you guys. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any questions you have in advance, go ahead and send them our way so that we make sure we cover it.
Hey, it would be interesting to find out if there are any lessons learned out of the Palisades or Altadena event with the Eden fires as far as communications, because all of those regions have pulse point, watch duty, and the number of individuals that still exclaimed that they didn't know and had to evacuate in a hurry. Is there something that we're not identifying as an opportunity with communication, or is it simply the fact that these were tremendous wildfires moving with such ferocity that we need to educate the public on just how dangerous and rapid wildfires move?
It's kind of early. They probably haven't done their after actions yet, to get really down into what those true lessons learned are. I think there's probably a mixture going on of, there are pockets of the community that do know what the resources are and what the dangers are, and then there are much larger pockets of people that don't. So I think we do need to do a lot more education, and not just educate, not just, lecturing on it or showing it or walking through it, but actually teaching it and ensuring that there's a true level of understanding, so that that person, that receiver of that information, can then teach that to somebody else. I think that's the piece and the power I think that we're missing.
Yeah.
It-
No, yeah, almost like a train the trainer kind of. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
And
we
this
can-
is
Go ahead.
this is Stephen, Fairfield Fire. If I may add a few things, if that's okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in relation to, I can provide a little insight. Those firestorms, no one was going to stop anything. Once those winds got in and got into that vegetation, the show was over. The firefighters couldn't have stopped a whole lot. As tragic as it was, it's a common phenomenon now in this day and age. Also, I would say, again, prevention, vegetation management has to be the absolute top priority, along with ensuring our existing water purveyors in your areas, that you're ensuring that they have capable infrastructure both below and above grade for water supply. And if not, again, a big ask, but it has to be addressed. And those are some of the things that have already come out down in that area. But the main thing was, between the winds and how fast that fire was moving, there was literally a line drawn in the sand, and everything in between was a write-off. There was no way they were going to stop it. But I just wanted to throw that in there. And you are right, there's more coming, a lot more to be addressed and investigated. But those are the main things coming out. We sent down a team as well as others in this area. And those are some of the top items that definitely were identified right off the bat.
And home hardening with that vegetation management.
100%. And once the new LRA maps are released along any day now, that'll also require new areas that are SRA that probably have to fall under the WUI and home hardening as well. But again, I can't stress enough, just like you're doing with the shaded fuel break, the vegetation management is so huge in open space. And that's what it came down to. A lot of those places went unabated. You had construction from the 50s, if not earlier, all type 5. They were matchsticks waiting to happen. And we know, all of us have areas in our county that are matched the exact same, maybe to a lesser degree. So that's my 2 cents. And again, those are some of the highlighted items. Thank you.
I'd like to add something that and this is a real big topic, so I recognize that. I would really love for this countywide group to consider doing an assessment of all of the kind of interacting factors in Solano County. So the things that we know is that, the lack of fuel reduction over decades due to policies, due to neighbors not wanting to have anything done, no bushes cut down, the grass, et cetera. The development that keeps expanding into the WUI, the climate changes that are happening in terms of we have much drier, hotter, and that means all this vegetation has low fuel content, moisture, and so we have some very ripe conditions, and it would be fabulous just to be able to go, hey, listen, here's where Solano County as a whole is at risk, because, and not just at one community, but really, what is our policies on some of these things? And are we implementing policies like, and Robin, I'd love to see the county enforce when people in the unincorporated areas aren't doing their defensible space and home hardening after they've received warnings that they're out of compliance. So things like that. And it doesn't mean that all this has to get done right away, but it just so we have a better sense of these interacting factors, because it's all played a role in Southern California. It's all played a role throughout our state and really across the nation, but California in particular.
Rochelle's in my brain. I was literally talking to somebody about this exact issue yesterday and trying to, I have a potential idea on how we may be able to get some support in this area, but I can't speak on it because it's way too early. But
Okay.
I wholeheartedly agree, because there are so many factors at play that
Yeah.
a lot of things get lost in the sauce, right? So if you have weed abatement, or we have environmental crimes deputies that deal with dumping, there's so many entities involved in stuff sometimes that the follow-up just doesn't happen because they're all different entities, and sometimes they're at different levels of government as well. So I agree, it's a problem, and it goes back to also just educating everybody on roles and responsibilities too. I mean, after LNU, and we saw so many property owners turn over and people moving out into the WUI that don't understand what it means to
Yeah.
be there. Yeah, I'm with you, but creepy, stay out of my brain.
So
Well, also like the partnership with the air quality control district. So I gave a presentation on wildfire preparedness today, and the one of the Dixon City Council members was there, and he sits on the Yolo Solano Air Quality Board and district. And he came up to me afterwards and he goes, after listening to you, are we getting in the way of reducing wildfire risks? He was, because, people want to burn, but we say, no, you can't. And so anyway, it was interesting that his eyes, he's interested in having the conversation and beginning to explore what does that look like, where we can kind of come to the middle and find those win-win solutions to addressing both climate, having healthy air, healthy environments, but also reducing our wildfire risk because we have to reduce fuels.
Rochelle, I'm going to add to that the only way to get the regulations for the air quality management district changed is by talking with the representatives that the counties have on those on their governing boards. And I think getting this group together to figure out what sorts of changes we would need to advocate for and coordinating that action. I've spent a lot
That's
of time
exciting.
today
See, I think that's exactly what
in
the
the
Solano
smoke
Fire Safe
management
Council
plan.
should be doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm going to add on to that I think a roundup of the funding sources that different groups are working under, and where we can all work together to report match as needed, or help fill in gaps that our partners are experiencing in their projects. If there are ways that we can dovetail our approaches and our grants to make sure that we are getting every worthwhile penny out of it that we can, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Hey, this is David. A couple items got brought up during the discussions here. So one, the LRA map updates from the California Fire Marshal's office, currently delayed, undefined period of time. Hopefully they're rolled out soon, but if they're not rolled out soon, is Solano County, and when I say Solano County agencies going to wait to develop local ordinances to react to that? Or are there efforts underway to address it more proactively because we know we have a wildfire problem already? So it's a question, just kind of floating it out there. And then two, and this is something that Rochelle had brought up and Chief Conti, in that we do continue to develop into the wildlands, and we do continue to have reconstruction even in the wildlands here in the Vacaville region, where we experience the LNU complex quite dramatically. Cal Fire has had fire safe regulations in draft form since 2012, and the state legislature has been unable to pass those through legislation. If we are truly trying to make proactive moves in Solano County to change things, we should be looking at those CAL FIRE regulations that are in draft form and taking them and modifying them to our local needs and implementing them and adopting them locally across all of our agencies that are in the wildland or wildfire threat zones. So I feel like that's something that we should be considering regionally.
Well, advocating and lobbying our state lawmakers, but we would have to do some work to come up with what is that advocacy so that we're all on the same page and we're doing that in a coordinated and unified way. But if we need the state to pass things, then we need to begin to try to influence them.
Well, we have the ability to locally adopt ordinances that are more strict than what the state of California is proposing. And the state of California has had draft regulations since 2012, and they've been incapable of getting those regulations implemented. Are we going to continue to wait here in Solano County for our next wildfire event to hit us? Or are we going to be proactive and get after this ourselves and take action locally?
I think one thing that complicates that effort, and I guess we do have the authority to enact that, those sorts of ordinances locally, but the enforcement and the funding for that enforcement is something that definitely is needing discussion.
Yes.
I've seen in other areas additional tax measures, nobody's favorite thing ever, but tax measures that are specifically for wildfire resilience funding. And we've heard from representatives from those areas that have spoken to the years of work and research and messaging and marketing to figure out how to get this story, how to get this issue to resonate with people and in a way that they will actually vote for it. And if that's something that there is interest in working on in this region, I can dig up those contacts and see if that's a speaker that we could learn from.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think in case someone's missed it in the news, the State Farm applied to the California Insurance Commissioner's Office for emergency rate increases of 22% for homeowners and 38% for rental properties. Who knows what's going to happen with that through the Insurance Commissioner's Office, but those are pretty dramatic increases, and I would expect other insurance providers to attempt the same measures to help recover their costs from these tremendous losses.
It's interesting. I wonder if that has anything to do with State Farm is one of the few that was still even considering offering I forget words sometimes.
Well,
Plans.
they had
Insurance
initially
plans.
pulled out.
Hmm.
They had initially pulled out and said they were going to start canceling with a 2-year plan to be out of California completely. And then I think they got political pressure from the insurance commissioner's office, and then they only pulled out of some of those strategic areas. Unfortunately, one of those was a tremendous portion of the Pacific Palisades region and potentially into the Altadena region. But and then those poor folks experienced, one of the greatest travesties in the history of California wildfire. So I think it brings a fresh light to an issue that everyone seems to recognize, but we're not getting to the table and rolling up our sleeves and coming up with real solutions for some reason. So, and I think it's at all levels, and I think it's, the consumer, the companies, the politician. I think it's everyone needs to be willing to embrace change, but what is that change going to look like to make it effective and actually accomplish some good? And we all know it's going to start with the 0 to 5, and it's going to start with home hardening. Those are the two most important things that are going to have an impact. You look at all the video of those events, and it was homes that didn't have ember resistant vents, like time and time and time again. You saw the fire start in the attics. That would have made a tremendous difference. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, and hopefully we get these changes implemented. Thank you.
All those homes had wooden fences adjacent to them. And that's how, large subdivisions end up burning up. It's because they're all connected by wooden fences and lots of shrubs and trees.
But
We definitely need a hazardous fuels management in this county, especially in the severe fire areas like Pleasance Valley, Green Valley, and English Hills to a certain degree. And then it also has to be done along all the main evacuation routes and thin the trees, 20 feet of spacing between each tree. So there's no, and all the ladder fuels and spacing between trees to prevent crown fires, because all the major, the common denominator with all these mega fires seems to be the wind. And we can't control the wind, but we can control the fuel load on the ground. And my comment about the insurance companies, I think they're all going to be assessing anyone who has insurance an extra 11% or more on their policies, up to 22%, because the insurance companies that are left in California all contribute to the FAIR plan. And since so many people are on the FAIR plan now, those people are going to see, and new people are going to see increases. So it's something that, we as the Fire Safe Council need to work on, the local ones and the countywide ones. And yes, a county, hazardous fuel ordinance. Some of the counties do have hazardous fuels ordinances. For example, Placer County. And I did speak to John Vasquez about this at a Farm Bureau meeting recently. And he said, that's great, but who's going to enforce it? And how are we going to enforce it? That's the key. Those are my comments.
Is there anything else related to learning needs or knowledge gaps before we move on to the next topic?
You mean that's not enough, Stacy?
I'm seriously taking notes over here trying to multitask.
Oh, I do have one more comment about the Air Quality Control Board. My husband and I do extensive pile burning and check the burn status every day. And there were days when we were out here and I'm sorry, but the wind picks up too much and it shouldn't be a burn day, just for the safety. And especially since those fires started in down in LA. So we didn't burn that day. But then other days when it was perfectly suitable to burn, it was a non-burn day. And I suspect because they had a little bit of fog in Sacramento. So I think, the Air Quality Control Board needs a little more input from the public, especially the public that, like ourselves, that do a lot of pile burning safely.
I have heard from the YOLO Solano Air Quality Management District that their regulations are largely geared for the agricultural burning activity that's pretty common in the county, in the counties, rather than something that is more tailored to the needs of the home burner. And I do think that getting representatives from both air quality management districts on a call or on one of our meetings to talk about what shifts could be made to facilitate better, safer burning for home fuel reduction purposes would be pretty worthwhile.
So would from a local standpoint, because the influence is at the Bay Area Air Quality Management District or the Yolo Solano Air Quality Management District board members, should we be inviting those board members to attend our meetings so that they can hear what some of the challenges are locally with implementing burns, whether it's piles or more large scale burns that are being impacted or affected by the burning regulations?
I think that what we need to do is have a plan and decide our best approach for action. Like maybe it's a small group of people that meet with each board member, just because the information can get lost in these meetings. So I think we need to develop a targeted plan for advocacy with them. And what does that look like?
Kenny, what's your perspective?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Kenny Doss with the Yolo Solano Air Quality Management District, and I appreciate all the conversations that we've had about air quality and burning and all that good stuff. I don't necessarily want to take a lot of time during this meeting to discuss all the nuts and bolts of what the air district does, just because I think that's not the purpose of today's meeting. But obviously, we're happy to spend some time at a future meeting to talk about how the air district makes decisions and what our process is for open burning and prescribed burning. So if that's of the interest to the council, we're happy to do presentations or have additional discussion on this. But I just want to, from a personal perspective, not make it feel like the air district is sort of, having these secret decisions about how we do certain things. We try to be as transparent as possible. And if we can help make things clearer to folks about what our goals are, then we're happy to have that conversation in the future.
Okay, if there is no further comments on our learning needs, we can move on to other business. And before I open up the floor, one of the topics I wanted to reach out to you guys about was we are starting to plan our community wildfire prep day, and which, as we said, will be May 3rd. And we are looking for anybody who would, excuse me, would like to be on the planning committee for the prep day. So if you are interested, I know, Rochelle, you graciously said that you would help. But if there's anybody else, please reach out to me, send me an email, and we can work to get a committee together to start working on our, as Robin said, successful wildfire prep day.
I'll put that out to our Green Valley Fire Safe Council members as well to see if anybody wants to join. Several of them were very active in the Wildfire Safety Expo we did a couple of years ago. So and we meet next week.
That's great, Rochelle. Thank you so much.
And Stacey, I'll follow up with you after we meet internally about our ability to help.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Take care.
So at this time, if nobody has anything else, we can open up. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Karen.
Just I have an update on some of our projects.
Oh, go ahead.
I would love to
Perfect.
share. So we do have a number of different fuel reduction projects in the pipeline. And you all have heard varying updates from me recently, but just to let you know where things stand, our CAL FIRE funded projects, we've got our Quail Canyon prescribed grazing project. The plan for that one has been finalized, and we're in the process of getting a bid from a grazer to implement that one, probably sometime in May through July of this year. In our post-fire tree removal work that's planned for the Pleasance Valley area, we are planning to bring our mitigated negative declaration to our board to be adopted later this month, and then the public comment period will open. We had to delay the CEQA document being approved by a month, but we are hoping that by the end of our public comment period, when we can actually start work, we will once again have permission to work under that grant. It is a federal grant, and so it is currently subject to the funding freeze. So we'll provide more updates on that as we get them. The last piece is our Nelson Road project, where we are planning some pile burns and broadcast burns. We are working on forming our piles, and we are getting a burn boss under contract so that we can get our burn plan developed for the broadcast burn. And we'll start coordinating with everybody for that one shortly. If anybody has questions, please let me know. Or if you have other sites that you would like to see prescribed burning or grazing or other fuel reduction activities happening at, please reach out. We're happy to work with you on that.
Thank you for the update. Does anybody else have any updates before I move on? I don't want to skip anybody.
The update that I have is that the Green Valley Fire Safe Council has to redo our community wildfire risk assessment. So we've been a fire-wise site for 5 years, and every 5 years you have to redo it. So that's going to be coming up sometime in March probably, but definitely the spring.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm not sure if this is Cheryl Sablon. I'm calling from Caltrans, or I'm here representing Caltrans. I do want to indicate or just give you guys an update. We are currently here in the Bay Area working on the Caltrans 5-year vegetation management plan. I'm not quite sure how the headquarters Office of Natural Resources will be handling it. I believe they'll be distributing the draft plans to the local fire department. So I would suggest that once that's through, I'll let y'all know, and then maybe give you a link in regards to, or a connection in regards to how to go about reviewing what's in the draft plan.
Thank you, Cheryl.
All right.
Is there anybody else for an update?
Yeah, Stacy, it's Chief Represini, Suisun Fire District.
Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, and I appreciate everyone's comments and concerns of the county, everything going on. Just kind of some of the updates we're going to be working on this year. We got the new fire code that's going to be coming out. We're going to be going over the adoption of the new county ordinance that all the districts meet and agree on. And we'll definitely take some of the concerns that you guys expressed today and start looking at putting that into our local ordinances. As well as we're looking into our weed abatement programs and prevention programs to see how we can strengthen into the future here. So we'll be looking at all of that. So appreciate everyone's input. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else for any updates? Okay, so I can open up the floor for any additional topics or concerns if anybody has any this time.
Hey, Stacy, it's David. I know I had shared that there's a meeting coming up talking about from the state of California for the California CWPP toolkit that's being launched. And from what I understand, the state of California is going to outline how CWPPs need to be formatted in the future. And there are going to be 3 primary sections: best practices, guidelines, and resources. are going to be addressed in that meeting. And that meeting is coming up, I think, on February 18th. And I know our CWPP's super new, so it'll be a little while before ours needs to be updated, but that'll be something that we'll want to participate in. And then something that I don't know if other regions that are in the WUI in Solano County have this issue, but in the Pleasants Valley English Hills area, there are a lot of residential care facilities for the elderly or disabled. And I know during the Altadena event, the Eden Fire, number of residential care facilities where the caretakers had abandoned the residents of those homes, and the individuals that were incapable of exiting the facilities under their own power ended up perishing during that event. I think it would be worth us doing some targeted education in Solano County, at least for those types of occupancies, because they are high risk, high vulnerability, low ability, if any ability to self-preserve. So it might be worth doing some evaluation through the county of areas that potentially have a similar issue to that.
I love that, David. So thank you so much for bringing that up. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, some of those places, depending upon the level of care, are a part of the county's healthcare coalition. And we've discussed this type of thing at the healthcare coalition before, but always more education that can happen for sure.
I just want to say that I'm really excited about the direction we're going as a county fire safe council, and some of these bigger topics that could have impact across the county. So this was a very great meeting. Thank you.
Me again. I see that Drew Ledford is here. Maybe he could give us an update on how many more trees that need to come down on Pleasants Valley Road.
Yeah, I'm here.
And thank you for, removing quite a few.
Yeah, of course. We have a on-call contract that just got renewed maybe a month or two ago. So we've taken down so far on that one, I think 3 or 4, but we have a section of our contract that's for any on-call trees that are identified as a problem. A lot of the ones that get on our radar come from you guys and the public. So if anyone has any problem trees that they would like us to take a look at, I can put my email address in the chat, and we're happy to go out and take a look. Kind of the goal is to address anything that's been burned and threatening the roadway, or is a threat in case of a fire to block access, ingress, and egress. A lot of the work that we've done so far has been in the Pleasants Valley area, but anything that that comes up, like I said, we're happy to take a look.
Drew, so nice. There's a process. The trees should be reported to Solano County Public Works, and Wanda will take that information and follow up and make sure that it gets to the contractor for the work. Drew, don't put your email. There's a process. It's okay. It'll get to them. I'll put the phone number to call and report them. He's too sweet, man. You'll be calling him every day.
Thank you, guys. Tanya, hey, hi, and go ahead with, I saw you had your hand raised.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, my name's Tanya Meyer. I coordinate the Yolo County Fire Safe Council. And in our last meeting a couple of weeks ago, folks had expressed interest in having the representative from the California Insurance Commissioner come talk. And she had spoken to our Fire Safe Council a couple of years ago, and also to Pleasants Valley, and she's willing to come in person. And we thought Winters would be a good spot, kind of right between the counties, for an in-person town hall meeting. And we have not set a date. she'll be up in Gwenda on the 12th of February. So I was thinking maybe mid-March, like the 12th of March, if folks would be interested in that. She wants about 25 people to attend. And we might be able to do a hybrid meeting if Karen would help me with the technology.
I would be
Is that
happy
something you
to.
folks would be interested in hearing more about insurance? I'm sure it's all going to be different every month. Should I just set the date
I
of
think, yeah,
not?
I think that's a great idea, Tanya. Thank you
Okay.
for inviting us.
Okay.
And let us all know, and we can send it out to our various groups. Thank you.
Cool. And then will this next, are you guys meeting quarterly or monthly? I
I
don't want
think-
to overlap.
I think we're going to be meeting quarterly. And
Okay.
so I believe the next meeting will be May 7th, and I can definitely help you coordinate getting all of us for that meeting.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I will ask her for a mid-March date and then let you know.
Okay, V. Nelson, I'm sorry, I don't know your first name, but I see that you have your hand raised. So if you want to go ahead with your question or your comment. There you go. You're off
Can
mute
you
now.
hear me?
We can hear you.
Sorry. My name's Valerie Nelson, and I live on Pleasant Valley. And after the LNU fire, the tree company's coming down, taking all kinds of trees, even wanting to cut the tree down. And the lady commented every 20 feet. I'm sorry, BS. So I'd like to know when new rules are implemented, because they should first go after dead trees and the dry grass, and then worry about the live trees later. That's my comment.
Thank you for your comment, Valerie. You were breaking up just a little bit, so I think you're talking about taking out the dead trees before the live trees, because they've been doing tree removal after the fire. Is that correct?
Yes. Because the tree companies were trying to take our redwood tree, and we had 3 arborists look at it and said there was no problem with it. And we noticed we had a truck with, it was written good wood. That wood went up to Clear Lake or wherever for fuel. So they were just chopping down older trees, 200-year-old trees that could have made it through the fire. They just were, I don't know, benefiting from it. The homeowner wasn't benefiting from it.
Drew, I saw you came off mute. Did you have a comment related to that?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Oh, it's okay.
But I'm still on. But please notify us before you decide to chop down any more trees, that are viable.
Well, Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, but any of the trees being removed at this point through that program are within public right of way.
Yeah, that's correct. And we're really going for dead trees, the non-viable dead trees.
Okay, well, they entered my property and it wasn't on the right of way for our redwood tree. We had to do some talking.
Could you send me a message on where your address is, and I can look into kind of what's going on there?
Well, yeah, it hasn't happened since the fire so much, but they kind of look. But what's your email address?
You can send it to the email that Robin put in the chat, rmhelp@solanocounty.com. And if you want to message me on Zoom, like a direct message here, I can look into your specific case.
Well, I don't know how to do that.
Was this immediately following the LNU, Valerie?
Yeah.
Okay, because there were several different entities doing tree removal at that time.
Oh, yeah. We had to deal with all of them.
Yeah, PG&E was one. They dropped a lot of trees on private property. They're probably the largest feller of trees on private property during that time that I'm aware of. But then there were some there were some companies that were contracted as well. So, Drew, I don't think it's the crew that you're working with now. There was a lot going on in the tree removal game, and it sounds like maybe some of it wasn't necessarily on the up and up.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
copy that.
Thank you for mentioning that. All right. I'll comment later. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Were there any other comments or questions? Okay. With that, we can end the meeting. I'll confirm that I believe the next meeting would be May 7th. And then I don't know, sorry, I'm fairly new to this, so I don't know, do you need to like motion to adjourn, or how would you guys like to adjourn the meeting?
I just think we adjourn when the items are over. I don't think we have to motion.
Yep.
Okay, well, if there's no questions, you guys can have your time back, and thank you very much for your time and commitment and coming here today. And if there's anything anyone, needs or questions, comments, feel free to email me and let me know.
Great meeting, guys. I feel like it was our most successful yet. So
Agreed.
yay, 2025.
Yay.
Thanks, everyone.
Buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.